Welcome everyone to the Utah's New American Task Force April webinar brought to you today by the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, the Utah Center for Global Talent, and the Center for Economic Opportunity and Belonging. Today we have guests from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, broader office, who will be providing an overview of some of the programs and initiatives that support Utah's entrepreneurs and businesses. This will include various resources and initiatives and programs that the office governs, and programs that such as innovative research programs, rural development support services, how to start a business, how business incentive, government contracts, and all of these services available to help not only new Americans thrive in Utah's economy, but all Utahns. So today's agenda will be, again, the governor's office exclusively giving a presentation on their programs and initiatives. And then I'll turn the time over to Z from the Center for Economic Opportunity to facilitate the dialogue and questions and answers. So along the presentation, if you do have questions, please enter them into the Q&A feature of Zoom, and we'll get to your questions through that feature. After that, Z will go through some community announcements and then provide closing remarks. Now, who we have today through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, we have Pete Codella, Managing Director of Business Services, Tim Cooley, Director of the Startup State, Paul Jolly, Director of the Utah Small Business Credit Initiatives, Alex Delfay, Program Manager of Utah Innovative Center, Sarah Ortiz, Apex Accelerator Regional Manager for Utah, Wasatch, and Juab counties. And last, we have Lori Hasselm who's an outreach manager from the Center for Rural Development. Now, in the 2 years that I've been here at the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, I've had the great privilege of working with the presenters today and their teams, and just wanted to say that it's been an honor in these last 2 years being part of this team who has served Utah alongside and the team members who are all very diligent and committed to serving our Utah community. So thank you for the opportunity to work on the team. I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Pete.
Thanks, Claudia. Appreciate that. I'm going to give an introduction to our office. Welcome to all of you who are joining us, and hopefully you'll leave knowing a little bit more about our office and what we try to do. First of all, we feel like we've got the best economy and the best quality of life in the country, perhaps the world. So our job is not to mess that up. Utah continues to get lots of accolades for its fast-growing and diverse economy. We feel like we're shepherds of the economy, and a lot of our work starts now, but then reaches its influence and its impact to the state down the road as companies bring new jobs. We've got about 100 different workers located around the state, over 20 different programs and initiatives that we manage. We give out about $140 million annually to Utah businesses. And of course, we are funded through the legislature, and we are part of Governor Cox's office, the Cox and Henderson administration. So how do we promote economic growth and competitiveness? We do it through focusing on our workforce. We've got tourism, which drives increased tourism and film production in the state. And there's a strong focus on rural Utah. We want, and Governor Cox has told us directly, let's ensure that we get opportunities to all Utahns, regardless of where they live. So Wasatch Front's important, and so are the counties that are not Wasatch Front. One of the latest rankings we got was from Rich States, Poor States, which ranked Utah #1 for its economic outlook for the 18th consecutive year. So again, we just don't want to mess it up. We want to keep getting those good accolades. Cheapest state to start a business, friendliest state for entrepreneurs, best performing cities. There's so many accolades and rankings, and you can check them out on our website. We curate them and put them there. Let me just share that Governor Cox, in his second term, has an initiative called Built Here, and his vision for the economy includes focusing on entrepreneurs. You'll hear from Tim about that. Rural, and Lori's going to talk more about that. Education, that's certainly part of the ingredient to a good economy is having that strong workforce, and education is a key component of that. And then fostering a spirit of service. You may not know this, but companies who sign a contract with the state to get an incentive for expanding here in Utah now have to commit to provide some service, giving back to the community. So that's part of Utah's DNA, giving back, providing service, and we're just making that part of the newcomers to the state as well. Here are a couple slides on how Utah is competitive versus other states. I would say that these numbers, maybe a decade ago, there was even greater disparity between our state. In other words, it was less expensive to do business here versus the nation. But now we're seeing these costs kind of start to get closer together to where we're towards a national average, but there's still cost competitiveness in Utah, from electricity, very friendly business tax environment, lease rates, office space, median wage lower than the national average. And when you compare that to the high cost of housing, that can be a challenge. So we certainly have some challenges spurred by our fast growth in our population. Our labor participation is higher than the national average, quite a bit higher. Our unemployment, the Salt Lake Airport, is a key component of driving our economy. So some of the elements of our cost competitiveness. I want to point out on business.utah.gov, and Bailey can put the link in, /grants, is where you can learn about opportunities for grant programs from our office. These will change periodically throughout the year, so check back here. Also, a suggestion in the footer of our website, you can click on subscribe to the newsletter. And in our Business Elevated newsletter, which goes out every other week, we'll list and we'll highlight upcoming grant opportunities. So there's not always a grant available, but sometimes there are some. And the team Lori's on, the economic growth team, manages the grants in the office. So certainly check out the page, subscribe to the newsletter, and just be mindful of what opportunities are there. Our marketing communications team does a good job of publishing events that our teams, our programs and initiatives are involved in or hosting. So they're on our website, /events is how you get there, just from the main menu. That's pretty easy. This is a fairly new research portal that we've introduced and launched and made available. It's pretty cool to check out statistics and information on employment, businesses, population, household information. You can drill down by county. So thank you for adding that link, but it gives you a community profile. So as you're perhaps involved in economic development or bringing someone else in, or just want to find some answers for yourself, we encourage you to use this portal. The office publishes a number of publications, probably several a week, and they are on the issue channel for the office. So I encourage you, Bailey's got this link, which she can add and share. But all of our digital publications go here, and then we'll frequently take them and add them to the newsletter or embed them on our webpage. But this is a great place to bookmark and keep in your browser's history so you can see what we've published, especially our annual Business in Utah magazine, which highlights all the things about Utah's economy, and perhaps also our annual report. Some of you may know that I joined the office in 2018 as communications director. For 5 years, I did our annual report, which is almost 80 pages. And I feel like I was the only one in the state who read the whole report. But it is our report to the legislature, and all the back issues are available there. I want to give a final shout out to the Business Elevated podcast, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts. We have over 200 episodes, which feature conversations with Utah leaders and entrepreneurs, chief executives of companies, talking about what it's really like to live and work and do business in Utah. I've hosted most of the episodes, and it's really fun to talk to Utah entrepreneurs about why they choose to do business in Utah. So there's some really fun stories there. I encourage you to check that out. And finally, follow us on social media at Business Utah. So the email newsletter and social media, those are great ways to stay connected to our office and be sure you don't miss out on opportunities. So with that, I'll pass it over to Tim.
Awesome, Pete. Thank you so much. Real quick. So, oh, there we go. Sweet. So my name's Tim Cooley. I'm the Director of Entrepreneurship for the state. I've been in the entrepreneurship ecosystem for quite a while, in Utah for about 15 years or so. I've been on the capital raise side. I've grown businesses and sold them. So I really get what's happening here in Utah, not only from an operations point of view, but also from a community view. And so let's get here. So Utah is the startup capital of the world. We get a lot of accolades, and I'm sure many of you all see these in news articles and podcasts and conferences and things like that. Here's just a couple of them to highlight what's really happening here in the state. And a lot of that is recognition that entrepreneurs way before me have done, and we get the opportunity to build upon those accolades. And if you want to see more accolades, you can see the link at the bottom. It's business.utah.gov/accolades. So lots of things happening in the state. Um, Recently, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, the governor wanted to expand on these accolades and really try to find a way to get more startups into the ecosystem. And so this last year, they launched the Built Here campaign. And one of the missions that we have is to increase businesses in Utah by 50% by 2029. That's a huge lift, which is why the startup state is such an important part of this story. And if anyone's out there trying to start companies or early in that development, we really want to be involved in helping not only tell your story, but make sure that you're aligned and connected with the resources that exist. So we put together basically 4 different ways that we help founders advance their entrepreneurial journeys. And the first one, it has to do with championing Utah as the startup state. As I mentioned before, entrepreneurs here are already doing that, and we get to take credit for that, which is pretty fun. And we built the startup state as a brand to be the representation of this movement. The second thing that we've done is to aggregate business resources. And you can see in the chat the link that was provided for startup.utah.gov. We put a lot of work into finding over 200 resources from idea all the way through exit for this all stages of business. And I highly recommend you all check that website out. It has 19 steps through the entrepreneurial journey with resources attached to every single step. There's events that you can find throughout the state, funding resources, and a whole bunch of other things that are out there. The third area that we're focused on is on the regulatory side. While not under my preview, but part of business services, we have a group called the Sandbox. If you're finding that a business that you're in is running up into legal issues, sometimes there's unintended consequences that come along with legislative work. We want to make sure that we're supporting you in that process. So please reach out to our team. And the fourth one, and this one's really, really important to me, which is to stabilize and strengthen the entrepreneurship landscape. It's really expensive to educate future entrepreneurs as well as those who are currently growing their business. And we need to make sure the resources like our team and the ones that are out there in the community are here for you guys in the future. So that's a thing that I've loved doing, is making sure that these programs are still available. And if you, like I mentioned before, here's the 4 areas that the website talks about mostly, which are funding opportunities. I mentioned that entrepreneurial tool, the business resources, and networking events. We do our best to try and aggregate everything. So if there's things that are missing, please let us know. We are only as good as our community. So please reach out and let me know what's going on if you can't find what you know to be out there. And then finally, this is my ask for all of you. We really, really want to encourage businesses. As we mentioned, we need to see an increase of 50% by 2029. And so we created a program called Get Started. And this is really an idea challenge. And it goes to all industries all over the state of Utah. And so there's very few limitations that are put on this. So if you're in that idea stage or early in the development of your business, please apply. It's really easy funding to get, and we'd love to see your applications. And so with that, I will turn it over to Paul.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. It is awesome to be with you today. And my name is Paul Jolly, and I am the director of the Utah Small Business Credit Initiative, or also known as USBCI. And again, it's a pleasure to be here. One of the great things is we understand and know that it's important to have access to capital. The capital is the fuel that gives individuals an opportunity to realize a dream. And that is what the Utah Small Business Credit Initiative is all about. And it is a unique opportunity that we've had here as a state to work with the U.S. Treasury in a $69 million loan program that began basically in 2023 and continues until 2030. The primary idea, again, is to provide capital where it is needed, to provide an opportunity for individuals to grow, initialize and grow and effectively succeed. The funding is distributed through our USBCI participating lenders, which are banks or credit unions that lend money directly to qualifying businesses and borrowers. It is based upon the Treasury guidelines with the state overlays. The Treasury has their rules of engagement. We have ours as a state, and one of them is that you must be a registered business and operate within the state of Utah. We are primarily targeting access of capital in rural and underserved communities, including very small business enterprise. And this is an opportunity for individuals that might not have an ability to borrow. We minimize and mitigate some of the risk for the lender or the bank and by participating in a loan. And one of the loans that we offer is called an LPP, or otherwise known as the Loan Participation Program. It is basically provided with a borrower applying through an application through a lender partner that completes the credit review on the borrower and does the underwriting. Shortly, I'll provide you a list of those banking institutions that are current partners. We're currently adding additional partners as time goes on. But basically, the LPP program, we participate upwards of 50% of a small business loan from a participating lender. It gives them an incentive because we're taking on some of the risk in their behalf. The state participating portion of the loan is assigned an interest rate, at least our side is assigned an interest rate, depending on the term of the loan, of 0.5%, upwards of 3%. And then when you have the lender participating in the other 50% of the loan, they will have their prevailing interest rate. And let's just say, for example, their interest rate is 10%. Let's say our interest rate on our 50% of it is 0.5%, that means you have a blended interest rate of 5.5%. And especially in an era of higher interest rates, 5.5% is a fairly competitive and compelling reason to go with the USBCA program. This loan is fully collateralized 1-for-1. We also have another loan called the CAP, a loan, or the Capital Access Program. We establish a loan loss reserve of 14%, and that's split between the USBCI, the lender or the bank, and the borrower. The loan carries usually a higher interest rate because typically it is non-collateralized or there's limited collateral. So depending on how much collateral there is, the interest rate will drop accordingly. But while LPP is typically a collateralized loan, the CAP program or the CAP loan is a non-collateralized loan. For the results to date for the program, just to let you know some of the successes that we've had since August of 2024, we've expended 100% of our Tranche 1, which equated to about $20 million. Tranche 2 is underway. Tranche 1 resulted in 247 new jobs, retaining 134 jobs, and also 45 loans were committed and funded. As illustrated, the county is impacted. We had a focus on some of the rural areas, but that did not exclude Utah and Salt Lake counties. But again, we really tried to focus on those counties that really needed access to that capital. Some of the enrolled lenders are on the USBCI site, which will be shared in the chat. But what you do is go to that and then just kind of scroll down and see a list of lenders and see if there's a lender that meets your requirements. Again, finding a banker is really, really critical when you're starting a business. They are the ones that are going to provide you some of the financial guidance that you're going to need on the various loan programs and treasury management and other things that you're going to need. So find a good banker, develop a relationship with them, and have them help you through that process. We have a lot of extraordinary individuals that are available in our banking community, and it's showing that the public-private partnership model is successful. We are able to elevate and enhance and engage individuals by utilizing the resources that are out there. The banking community is one of those valued partners of ours. And we have some extraordinary partners, and we're happy to help in any way we can to provide guidance and direction and maybe a little bit of help to point you in the direction that might be useful to you. This is a little snapshot of our team with their email addresses. Feel free to take a little picture of that if you'd like and email us directly. And I we hope we can be of assistance to yourselves because we know that when you're in the middle of business or trying to seek out an opportunity to build a dream, there's a lot of ways to go. And there's other people that have been there and kind of done that. And we certainly encourage you to leverage those knowledgeable resources in your behalf. And with that, I'll turn the time over to Alex.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. My name is Alex Dalpe. I am a program manager with the Utah Innovation Center. I'm a biologist by trade. I've worked in the energy sector, program management. I've been working also with SaaS startups in the past, so enough to get me in trouble. Let's put it that way. One thing also I'd like to share with the group is I also consider myself a new American. I'm originally from French Canada, so I'm a pure Québécois, and happy to be here and share this experience with you. So I will cover what the Utah Innovation Center does and what are the SBIR or STTR programs. So our office, called the Utah Innovation Center, is an office among the 7 others offices that are part of the business services under GoEO. And our role is to support small businesses to submit competitive proposal, R&D focus, and obtain SBIR, STTR funding. So over the years, we've helped hundreds of different companies to get that R&D funding since the inception of the program about 42 years ago. Over 2,000 companies have received funding, and our office has helped to get over $400 million in investment funds. We're also a Tibbet Award recipient for the quality of the contribution that we've given to small businesses in Utah. and we are also a FAST Award recipient. What are the SBIR STTR programs? You're probably wondering. So also known as SBIR, especially if you're working or interacting with the Department of Defense. These programs offer over $4 billion annually to small businesses to fund new R&D, new technologies, new devices with broad impacts. This is a program that was mandated by Congress since 1982. It's set for renewal in later this year in September, and we're hopeful it's going to be renewed again for another 3 to 5 years. There might be some small changes. The level of funding and how this money becomes available to small businesses, it's done through budget allocation. So every agency that has over $100 million in extramural research, 3.2% of that money is set aside for small businesses. Same thing with STTR or SITR. If that federal agency has over $1 billion in extramural research, 0.45% of that amount is set aside for small businesses. Would your company be eligible for this program? If you're a for-profit company, if your own, the ownership of that company is owned by citizen or permanent resident of the United States over 50%, you are eligible under the program. And if your company is 500 or fewer employees, you would be eligible. Some of you may have done non-immigrant visas or maybe in the process of obtaining permanent residency. You would be allowed to work under these grants, considering that the company would disclose that foreign affiliation because there's requirements associated with that. But if you're looking to start up your own company, permanent residency is a requirement, or you could also combine efforts and work with a citizen or a permanent resident to attain at least that 51% ownership requirement. And of course, to work with us at the Utah Innovation Center, your business would need to be registered in the state of Utah. So how these programs are structured, it's basically a 3-phase approach. The first phase, you would be submitting a proposal describing what you're envisioning, what would be your technical goals, what you hope to achieve. So we're talking about really just an idea, very early stage technology development. And a phase 1 is typically 6 to 12 months, up to $275,000 in funding. Then if that phase 1 proof of concept is successful, it would lead to a phase 2. That phase 2 is really focusing on developing a functional, commercializable prototype of your technology. And these projects could last up to 24 months and worth up to $1.8 million. And then the last phase is really a symbolic phase where you would either sell your technology to the federal agency that funded your project, or deploy your technology, your innovation to the market. So what are the benefits to a small business when you use this funding mechanism to develop your technology? Well, the greatest advantage is that those dollars, those funding opportunities are non-equity position dollars. That means there's no loss of technology ownership, meaning you don't have to share any IP as you develop that technology. There's no payback of funds if the project or the proof of concept did not work. So great advantage for companies that are really, really looking forward to develop their technology. And you might wonder, okay, well, I'm involved in R&D. I'd like to expand my business. I have this platform or this tool. Is this eligible under the program? So what these federal agencies are really looking for is for high risk, high rewards ideas, things that might not be yet, how could I say, an investment option for VCs or investors. We're talking really early R&D. So TRL 1, 2, 3. What does that mean? It's a way to kind of categorize how new technologies are developed. So early technology readiness level. And just to give you an example of what has been developed under the program, the internet, the GPS system, the Qualcomm chip. Closer to us, we have a company in Utah called Oxeon Energy, and they have developed an oxygen generator device that is right now on planet Mars. So how cool is that? So again, if you're wondering if your technology would be eligible, your idea, feel free to contact us. We could provide some advice and guidance on how you could leverage this program. So the federal agencies that are participating in the program, there's about 11 of them. You could see their name on screen. The ones that are in bold offer both programs, the STTR and SBIR. And by the way, STTR and SBIR are very much similar. It's just the STTR program requires that you do research and development affiliated with a research institution, university, colleges, et cetera, et cetera. So you might be wondering, okay, how much money, each of these agencies are contributing to this federal programs structure. So you see it here. Out of those $4 billion available to small businesses, the biggest share of the pie comes from DoD, the Department of Defense, about $2.2 billion. They have hundreds of topics throughout the year. DoD is very much into solving their own problem, technical, so they're very specific about what they're looking for and how the applicant should be submitting a proposal to solve that very specific problem. Other agencies like Human and Health Services, the second one, and kind of a turquoise part of the pie, that's NIH, health-related proposals are accepted. As long as you satisfy the mission of an institute, you are welcome to submit a proposal. And then you could see Department of Energy, the NSF is also very popular. And then at the bottom, you have the smaller agencies. So like I said, there's a lot of different solicitations that are coming out throughout the year. The bigger the agency is and the bigger the piece of the pie is, the more solicitation. So again, if you're looking or targeting a federal agency, feel free to come to us and we could guide you which one might be a good fit for you. I'm just providing here just kind of quick, as you're going to get a copy of this presentation, and each of those little icon is a direct link to the SBIR website of a federal agency or the SBIR portal. So on these website, you could see different topics, what's available, what are the rules, how to apply. So these are really linked to help you kind of get started and explore. But again, if you have more technical questions and you would like to see if what you're proposing is a good fit, feel free to reach out to us. And what we provide, what does the Utah Innovation Center provides is we provide, yes, consultation services. I'm going to provide the link later on in the slide on how to reach out to us and maybe schedule a 30-minute appointment with us. We look at solicitation throughout the year. If you're part of our newsletter that we release every month, we could keep you updated on what's available. We find topic match. We also address, hey, you have an idea. Let's see if you could adapt that idea to a problem that the federal agency has. And when you're submitting or drafting your proposal, this is where we could offer guidance. We could review your proposal, make suggestions on how to make your proposal as competitive as possible. And then the next step, if that's something you really are thinking about, you have a science background, engineering, you have an idea, you don't know how to get started, I would say start by creating a business. And of course, you could leverage what Tim talked about earlier today. The Startup State, they have a great website on how to get started. If you need help and assistance regarding federal platform registration like SAM, the SBA, SBIR, feel free to reach out to Sarah's team, who's going to be presenting soon under the Utah Apex Accelerator. And of course, feel free to reach out to us. I put some links on that slide. So if you'd like to schedule a consultation or see what we have available for training and workshop on how to create the best proposal ever, again, feel free to reach out to us. So important deadlines, just to see how busy our space is. There's constantly solicitation coming out. Again, these are direct link to the portal and funding opportunities for each of those federal agencies. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but feel free to leverage those links. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them later on. And this is our team. We're a team of 5. And I think Sarah is next, correct?
Yes, that would be me. Thank you, Alex.
welcome.
As you said, I'm Sarah Ortiz, and I am the Utah Apex Accelerator Regional Manager for Utah, Wasatch, and Juab counties. And I'm happy to be here and be able to share the Apex Accelerator program with you all. Okay, to start, some of you may be more familiar with our previous name of the PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. About 2 years ago, we were changed to Apex Accelerator, and we are now under the Department of Defense Office of Small Business Programs. We're also under the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. And our main purpose is to help businesses find, bid, and win government contracts, and we do so at no cost to you. There are over 90 Apexes nationwide because we are a nationwide program. And there's over 300 offices across the US states and territories. You can find your local Apex through that link there. I think these slides will be shared. Or you can always reach out to me and we'll get you connected with the right Apex manager for you. This is our team. We are a team of 10 people and we are spread across the Utah counties. We are all each regional managers of different areas. And their offices are as far north as Logan, Utah, and they span as far south as St. George. Our mission, as stated there, is to bring businesses into the government industrial base. We do so by assisting in pursuing government contracts. We want to increase access to different networks and resources. We conduct training sessions and workshops, and we also facilitate the transfer of innovative technologies. So how we do this, I wanted to briefly provide an overview of our services. The one I want to highlight is underlined and it's called Bid Match, and it's a way to help clients find solicitations. Finding opportunities that are available to you is one of the biggest hurdles when you enter the government marketplace. And our Bid Match is a free service we offer. That's a daily email that provides you different solicitation opportunities that match your goods or your services or your products that you offer. You'd work with the regional manager to create your profile and ensure you're getting relevant solicitations daily. It's a great way to keep in touch with what industries, what agencies, the dollar amount of opportunities that are available to you, and decide if you want to take that next step and begin bidding and responding to solicitations. I also want to highlight our training and educational opportunities. We partner with Gavology to offer a whole platform of different webinars and live webinars as well, blog posts, podcast videos, all on different aspects of government contracting. We also provide educational outreaches. We have our annual symposium, and we do try as best we can to provide networking events so that you can meet with different government agencies one-on-one and see if you can potentially work with them in the future. To highlight some other upcoming events, later next month, May 9th and 10th, we have the CQM training. So for those of you who may be in the construction industry, this would be a great opportunity to attend, receive your certification, and it's good for the next 5 years, and be able to work with the US Army Corps. On May 14th, we have an introduction to GSA. So for those of you who are interested in the GSA contracting vehicle, this is a great first step. And on May 22nd, we also have a webinar on Beyond Cybers, NIH as your technology development and commercialization partner. For those of you who are in innovative technology industries, this would be a fantastic one to attend. So how we do what we do. One of the first steps is establishing business readiness. So for those of you who are interested in Apex, this is probably going to be our introductory meeting, what we cover. So do you have a strong business foundation? Is government contracting the right choice for you, for your company? And especially, is it the right choice right now? If you perhaps need to take a step back and work on your business plan, we have resources that we can connect you with, such as the Small Business Development Center. We also have connections with other agencies or other areas such as the Women's Business Center, SCORE, other GoYo programs that we're always happy to connect you with to ensure that you're in the best position to start government contracting. So even if you're not sure if we are the best fit for you, you can still schedule a meeting with your regional manager. We'll help establish your business readiness and try to connect you with other resources that might be a better fit if not. We also want to establish, does the government buy your product or service? Generally, the answer is going to be yes. The government is one of the largest customers in the world. There are billions upon billions of dollars spent annually in a whole wide array of different industries. The real question is identifying who buys what you sell and how do you break into that market. So we sit down with our clients, we create a market research plan. We try to help identify what level of government is the best fit for them, whether that be local, state, or federal government contracting. And then we help them with those next steps on how to break into that industry. We also help with registrations. There are a lot of registrations involved with government contracting. And as Alex mentioned as well in the previous presentation, for those of you interested in SIPR and SITR, you may also encounter these registrations such as SAM, the System for Awards Management. We can help you navigate those and ensure you are correctly and quickly registered and being given a UEI or a CAGE code. UEI is a unique entity identifier. CAGE code is commercial and government entity. These are both ways for the federal government to sort of vet your company and establish that you are ready for government contracting or applicable. We help you navigate DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search, which is tied to your SAM registration. And if you're more interested in state, local, or education contract opportunities, we can help you navigate sites such as U3P, the Utah Public Procurement Place, as well as Bonfire, which is slowly moving to. We also help clients increase their competitiveness within the government marketplace. Market research is going to be something we help clients with at all levels of government contracting because it is so critical in identifying who buys what you sell, how to connect with them, how to understand how they do business. We also help with capability statements and marketing plans on how to make yourself as competitive as possible and how to make the right connections and network. We'll help with federal certification. So for those of you who may have women-owned small businesses or veteran-owned small businesses or socially and economically disadvantaged small businesses, there are set-aside opportunities tied to those certifications, and we exist to help you take advantage of those. There are 23% of all federal procurement dollars set aside for small businesses. So we can help ensure that you get those certifications to help you better compete in the federal marketplace. Once you do find a solicitation, we can help you navigate that process as well. There are all types of solicitations. So when you see SSNs, RFPs, RFQs, IFBs, all of the many acronyms that exist in the government marketplace, we exist to help you navigate those. So sources sought, requests for proposals, requests for quotes, information for bids. All of these are different areas that we can help you understand so that you can submit a responsive and responsible solicitation. We'll help with pricing, we'll review your solicitation. We can't write them by any means, but we do serve as a guide to make sure you're submitting these strong solicitation responses. And then of course, establishing connections. We try our best to network as well with all the different agencies, and we have a good amount of solid relationships with whether they be women's business centers, whether they be contracting officers, different agencies to help connect you with, an Office of Small Businesses to help connect you with, so that you can understand more about those agencies and how they conduct business. We also want to make sure you understand the different contracting vehicles, agency representatives, industry days, vendor fairs, all of these different ways to network and connect within your industry. It does come down a lot to networking and making sure you are as well connected as possible once you start in the government industry. Okay, and then I just want to finish up with some data I pulled. So if we look at the state of Utah, SLED data, SLED is going to be state, local, and education opportunities. And purchase orders alone, there was $4.87 million awarded. We can see here some of the top agencies as well as the top items procured. Once we look into the federal space, there's a lot more information readily available. So in the last fiscal year, there was over $13,000 contracts awarded. There was over $36 billion awarded throughout in the state. And here we can see some of the top agencies. So Department of Defense, NASA, VA, GSA, and some of the top NAICS codes. Those are the North American Industry Classification Codes, a way of identifying your product or service. Some of those top snakes are going to be engineering services, guided missile and space vehicle manufacturing. There's a lot of different areas, but we can help ensure that you get a piece of this. Okay, with all of that said, please contact us. Again, I'm Sarah Ortiz and I cover Utah, Wasatch, and Juab counties. Even if you're not located in my area, you can still shoot me an email and I'll get you connected with the right regional manager. And we are happy to assist you as best we can. Okay, let me turn the time over.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lori Haslam with the Center for Rural Development. I cover 5 counties within northeastern Utah. There's 24 rural counties within the state of Utah that most of our funding goes to. We have our rural county grant, a rural community opportunity grant that is for counties and cities to apply for. Our rural county grant is a $200,000 block that goes for infrastructure development and economic development within the counties, to however they choose. If they would like to implement the funding into a program that works for their community, the funding gives that opportunity. We also have our rural community opportunity grant that is a competitive grant that you can apply to receive up to $600,000 per county to help with different projects and improvements. We have our rural employment development incentives. All of our incentives are centered around economic development, related infrastructure, business retention and expansion and recruitment, workforce development programs, and short and long-term planning. This is our team of outreach managers. There's 5 of us located throughout the state of Utah that we cover different counties that we can assist you. If you are located within one of these counties, you're more than welcome to reach out to one of these outreach managers. Several counties with our rural community grant will re-grant funding to businesses to help them to succeed or have different development programs. So it's very helpful to reach out to one of our outreach managers to get personalized assistance. There should be a link coming in the chat box that will link you directly to this map and give you each of our email addresses so that you can reach out individually. We have a couple of different opportunities that we offer that our incentives are for job creation. We want to see new jobs created within rural Utah, new high-paying jobs. Our Red TIF is with the Rural Economic Development Tax Increment Financing. That is with a significant investment in infrastructure within your business. And then adding employees as well. We'd like to see at least a minimum of about 25 employees added, and you can receive up to 50% in new state taxes, up to 20 years. You do go through our board to be approved for that, and it can be a significant savings. Another program that we have is called our Rural Employment Development Incentive. This is for job creation for anyone within a rural county. If you have a business and you're creating a new job within your company, you need to sustain your amount of workforce that you currently have, and then you can receive funding up to $6,000 per employee, comes back to the business to help you in any way that you want. It does need to be a full-time position. It needs to be 100% of the county wage for a minimum of 1 year. And the business cannot be construction, retail, or staffing public utilities. So this one actually is open quarterly. The portal opens tomorrow for this particular one. So if you're interested in this, be sure and reach out to one of our outreach managers as soon as possible. It closes on the 15th of May and won't open again until October. So this is a great program as well. Also, as has been mentioned, we do have our business.utah.gov website that you can find all of our information under the Center for Rural Development.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for the great presentations. I am pretty aware of a lot of the resources that is available through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Belonging. But I was also surprised on the depth of all the programming that's been presented today. Thank you so much again for all the presenters today. My name is Zeman Sao, and I'm with the Center for Economic Opportunity and Belonging, when we are one of the co-hosts of the New American Task Force. And my role today is to facilitate a conversation and discussion based on all of the great information that is being presented to us. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask any of our speakers, feel free to unmute yourself and ask those questions, or if you want to type it on the chat, as well as the question section on this webinar, you can do that. I see one question already. And the question is, can I start a business if I am an international student? I don't know who wants to take that one. I could jump in as well, but we have lots of experts in this space. Looks like Paul has a mute. Paul, you want to chime in?
There's probably several individuals who could probably feel that question, but the answer would be yes. As long as you have a Social Security number or an ITIN, taxpayer identification number, or other tax identifiers, and you're able to meet with the bank, they're going to require that information. Again, that's really what you need to qualify to get access to capital, if that is the fuel that you're seeking to start the business. Z, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm on mute. Any other speakers who might want to chime in? I think international students are a great asset to our community, and we have seen throughout history, and right here in Utah, how many international students were able to start businesses, and then through the legal channels, be able to secure immigration status and be able to stay here. So thank you so much for that question.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yes, please, Tim.
Just be very cognizant of what your immigration statuses are, because that will dictate how you develop that business post being a student. So if it's something in the engineering field, there's opportunities to extend visas and things like that. And then if they hit certain revenue milestones throughout that development, it makes it a lot easier to continue that development. And it also depends on whether or not you go back to your home country, or if you try to extend here longer. So just make sure you work with somebody a lawyer that understands both the business and international side of things.
Thank you so much, Tim, for chiming in. And is that something that your office will be able to help navigate as well? And through the New American Task Force, we do have some resources to support international students to make sure that they stay in compliance with their immigration status. But in terms of the entrepreneurship angle, is that something that your office might be able to help them navigate?
You can look into it. We don't have any resources currently, but it's something we can definitely develop.
Right. Thank you so much. We have a second question on how can I start a business at home if I have kids and cannot start a store? I think that is lots of experts who can answer that questions as well. Anyone want to jump in first?
Can you put a little bit more clarification, meaning you're trying to sell your product from your home? Is that what I'm understanding?
Please feel free to unmute.
I can respond. All great businesses start in homes or start in garages. The history would indicate that most businesses start off in very austere circumstances. The proof of concept takes place. traction also happens to elevate. There are pricing mechanisms. There are other items that kind of fall into place, but all great things originate in many instances in humble circumstances. And sometimes it's hard to just know what to do and how to balance things. The nice thing about it, there's so many people that have been there and done that, and you leverage their knowledge and expertise to better understand what they went through and in order to get to the next level. I'd like to say that money is the answer to everything, but that's not necessarily true. Money is part of the component, one of the components that brings about success. And of course, Tim and others here on this panel have some definitive understanding and certainly can provide some guidance on that. But in answer to the general question, things start in humble beginnings, and it takes a lot of work. But with all that effort and initiative, there's some extraordinary things that come about in terms of the outcome.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we didn't get any clarification on what the business is, but usually you can start pretty much any business at home. And it depends on regulations. For example, like childcare has a lot of legal issues associated when you may not be able to do it at home. But the majority of companies, I think, can get started as a home business.
Yeah, thank you so much for those answers. And I just want to also chime in a little bit. I think home-based businesses are, like Paul and Tim has alluded to, are a great starting point, and especially given the advent of e-commerce. Even if you are in a retail or selling business, you are able to do that with the various platforms that is now available on the internet. So I think that's definitely a place that you can reach out to, and some of the resources and partners of the governor's office that some have been shared earlier, including the Women's Business Center, SCORE, and I know that the SWASO Center is on the audience today. Those are also great resources that you can reach out to get additional information and how they might be able to help you with your idea of starting a business at home. I'm going to move on to the next question. Are there any programs that assist immigrant business owners in obtaining capital to start, sustain, or grow their businesses? Are many organizations to reach out to in Salt Lake County for that?
I'll take the initial response on that. Again, going back to the extraordinary resources that are available here in the governor's office, but also in the private sector. One that you had mentioned is the SWASO Business Center and other institutions like them that provide guidance, that provide coaching, that provide a sequence of understanding of what to do, when to do it, and how to go about it. Some of the things that you don't think about is just the internal workings of the business. I would love to say again, money is the solution, but having a baseline understanding of the operational aspects of a business is critical. And some of these private institutions, they provide this guidance. SWASO Business Center is one. They help you with licensing. They help you with finding legal services. They are able to help you with the bookkeeping. There's some real foundational things that are really, really helpful, and and institutions like them and others are able to provide those types of services.
Yeah, and to name a couple of these, one, getting funding to start a business is probably the most difficult thing to do. It's very risky. So to get someone else to give you money is just very difficult. So you're usually going to start off with friends and family or savings, or maybe your own personal credit card. So it's very risky. As you grow the business, it's a lot easier to get funding to sustain and grow. There's organizations that help in the earliest of funding. So the Utah Micro Loan Fund, so UMLF, it's a really great group. Depending on where you live, there's what are called revolving loan funds, and they're very county specific. And hopefully, like your local chambers or other groups like that can help drive you towards those when you're ready. But they're really great sources for that early, $25,000, $50,000 checks to help move the business forward. I just want to be very clear. Starting the business is the most risky, and it's very hard to get funding for that.
Thank
And
you
if
so
I
much.
see if
Yep.
I can add and
Yep.
just chime in here, I'll put a link in the chat. One of the tools that Tim's team put together on our Startup State initiative is kind of an entrepreneur's journey, a map that walks you through everything from I have this idea to what do I do next? How do I create a company? How do I market my company? And one of the steps in the entrepreneur journey is how do I fund my business, right? So that's a great resource to look at, kind of identify where you are in the step in your journey map. The Utah Small Business Development Center is available to provide one-on-one counseling for anyone wanting to start a business. They also have an Entrepreneur Academy, which has online learning to help you kind of identify that step, that phase that you're in your business development, and then take the next step. Tim, the Startup State's Get Started. If you've got a product and you're selling it, you can get some money to take that next step. There are just lots of resources, and on the Startup State webpage, hundreds of resources are listed that can help point you in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Pete. And just another chime in there. The SWASO Center is now also a CDFI, and they do have a loan program for to support small businesses as well. And you also mentioned about Salt Lake County. The Salt Lake County has a revolving loan program, and they do work through intermediary service providers, including the Utah Micro Enterprise Loan Fund that Tim has already alluded to. So thank you so much for that great question. We're going to move on to the next question. Where can I get help to import things from my home country to start a business?
The best resource for this, I believe, is going to be through the World Trade Center. You can kind of just do it, but be very careful, especially with this tariff situation that's going on. Yeah, I don't have a better answer than that, but World Trade Center is probably the best one to consult as you go through that process. Pete, do you know of anybody else?
I agree. World Trade Center Utah is a great resource. I'll paste a link to their site. Usually when it's international importing, exporting, we'll refer folks to World Trade Center Utah.
Great resources with the partners at the World Trade Center. So this is, I think this, Estanthia, I think this is the person that has the first question that we were trying to get some additional clarification on. So the person who wants to start a home business is actually a cleaning service company. And I think you could have a home base and then just provide services outside. Tim, you want to chime in on that? And
this is a great example of many people who have these as the office, you would say, is located at the home. Just work with a tax professional to make sure that you've allocated some space to that business so that you can get some deductions and things like that. But it depends. The question you have here is, do you think I have a chance to apply for these resources? It just depends on what you need. Like if you're trying to get an equipment loan or something like that, the answer is most likely. But again, it just depends on what you're looking for.
great, thank you so much. I'm going to move on to the next question. As this is great that we have so much questions. I think this is the most questions that we have ever had in a webinar. So thank you so much and keep them coming. The next question is Utah Tax Help Service Low Income Taxpayer Clinic here. We receive funding from IRS to help taxpayers and regularly given guidance on the implications of F1 students and work visa compliance, located in Salt Lake, Ogden, Orem. We are also funded by GoEO to run our free small business academy in Spanish and English. Is that more, I'm guessing that's more of a statement and resources you're providing. Is that correct? Sherry, feel free to unmute.
Hi, yes, we're funded by the governor's office to do our free business academy. We're doing it at all 3 of those locations in Spanish and English. And also we're funded by the IRS to do the low income taxpayer clinic and regularly have issues with F1 compliance and small business. So we're here to help with any of that guidance, tax assistance that's needed.
Great. Thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing that resource with us. And I think this is a great resource too to our community tax, especially when you're owning your businesses. There are different business structures, and there are a lot of implications in terms of how you structure your business and the obligations to pay for tax. So I think getting a professional, especially resources that are free to the public, is always a great place to get started. So thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing that information. The next question, how long is the process to win a government contract? I think that is a complicated question. So any of the speakers, I forget from
I think, yes, Sarah, you want to address that one?
Yes, absolutely. The question, unfortunately, like many things in the government marketplace, is really going to be, it depends. It depends on a lot of factors. If you're pursuing a local or state contract, there are less regulations and registrations that are needed, so it would be a little bit faster. For the federal government, that's where we start seeing a lot more regulations come into play that we would want you to be aware of before you start pursuing government contracts, so that would extend the time. And it's also going to depend on the size of the contract, or if you want to start with subcontracts, perhaps. We always recommend those as good starting points to open the door. And then as you gain more experience, you can pursue larger contracts and more complex contracts. So once we have more information, we could probably get you a better time frame for that.
Let me just mention that the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity programs, initiatives, services that you've heard about today. You're not going to come in and pay us a fee for our consulting or for our support. So these are, government provided and sponsored services that our team provides. And as you've heard, we're located throughout the state. So regardless of where you're based, we probably have someone who can help you or can refer you to a small business development center as a resource. But always great to do what you can on your own and not hire an expensive consultant to help you right away until you're more fine-tuned and further along. And there's lots of resources and people who can help.
Thank you so much, Pete. I think today's presentation is a testament of just how in-depth the resources is available in the state of Utah to support entrepreneurs and others, individuals in the community. Is there any other questions? Please feel free to put it on the chat or unmute yourself. While people are waiting, I do have a question for our extreme presenters here today. There's just a lot of information and a lot of resources. And I think that one of the biggest challenges is just finding out who to first connect with. And we do have some really great community resource providers on the call today. What would you suggest, and Pete, maybe I'll start with you. What would you suggest if someone is just, not sure where to go and just need to get someone connected immediately in your office?
So business@utah.gov is an email address, kind of our general email that you can start there if you're unsure where to direct your question to. I'd actually suggest using some of the new tools that we have online, like an AI chatbot or something to ask questions, and even Google search to refine and put in the information that you're looking for. Your local small business development center is a good place to start. The resource providers that Z mentioned is a good place to start. Ask your neighbors, ask your friends, post on Facebook, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Do you guys have any recommendations? But certainly, if you reach out to our office, we'll do our best to point you in the right direction. And part of our role in the Economic Opportunity Office is to convene and bring together people, service providers, people who need support, especially supporting small businesses, which drive Utah's economy. We are all about small business. I don't know if any of you other panelists would like to add anything. Feel free.
Yeah, with that, so on the startup.utah.gov website, we have a chat bot that gives you the opportunity to really ask any question you want. And then we try to also help there. So that's another opportunity as well.
Yes, it sounds like the phrase that's really not a wrong door. I think the best thing is just, if you have any doubts, have any questions, just reach out. And I think that all of the partners here and within the governor's office is happy to make sure that we direct you to the right individuals who can support you. So no wrong door, just ask for help. There are resources here. We're here to support you. Any other questions that anyone might have? Well, this has been an amazing presentation and information session. Pete started the discussion of today's presentation by sharing all of the great accolades that the state of Utah have received in the nation. And now we kind of know why, because we do all providing a lot of resources to make sure that you can be successful in the state of Utah, regardless of where you come from and where you live. And I think New Americans is a important segment of a community. Many studies have shown that immigrants and refugees are starting businesses at a higher rate than the general population. And we really want to really hone in those strengths and make sure that we are providing opportunity for everyone to thrive in the state of Utah. With that, I will conclude. If there's no more questions, I will conclude our presentation for today and go on to community. Oh, I do have one more question. Just want to make sure I'm not missing this. I like this presentation. Is an in-person meeting possible? I think that's definitely something that we can work on as the New American Task Force. I think that in-person is always a great, it provides a lot more opportunity for us to make connections that we are not able to make when we over Zoom. So thank you for that suggestion. We'll put that into consideration and see what we can do to maybe perhaps host a in-person event. And I know that the governor's office have convened, provided resource fairs in the community in the past. So we'll see what we can do to make that happen. Thank you so much for that suggestion. Okay, we'll move on to so we'll conclude the presentation and we'll move on to community announcements. So we'll start with the first community announcement is online citizenship preparation classes with the Utah Citizenship Initiative. Again, this is another initiative of the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Really grateful that they are supporting immigrants through the pathway to become naturalized citizens. And so there is a clinic, online citizen preparation clinic, if June to August from 6 to 8 p.m. There is the QR code. Please scan that QR code and you'll be able to find out more information on those clinics in your community, but more specifically in Cache and in Moab. So this is a statewide initiative. We'll move on to the next announcement. Free dental extraction. We know how important dental health is. There is a free dental extraction clinic being held May 1st to the 3rd in Riverton, Utah. Again, please scan the QR code and you could find out more information about this free resource in our community. Next. Forge St. George is back, speed networking. We also talk about this throughout the presentation about the importance of networking for your small businesses. And the SCORE in St. George is presenting a networking opportunity on May 7th. is being held in St. George, Utah. Again, scan the code, and you'll be able to participate in this great event where you can expand your network. Next slide. The Refugee Health and Wealth Conference is May 31st from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is going to be held in West Valley City. Really another great opportunity and resources for our refugee community in Utah. They will be talking about both your health as well as your wealth. Both are really important and a great combination for that. Next slide. A Boulder Way Forward is hosting their annual summit Friday, June 6th. I know that they still have spaces available. Boulder Forward is a statewide initiative to make sure that women and girls are able to thrive in the state of Utah. I know that this is also a program that's been heavily supported by the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Encourage all of you to attend. There is a subcommittee within a Boulder Way Forward that is focused on new Americans. And so there's a lot of intersectionalities there, and encourage you to sign up and participate in this conference. And I think that is all of the community announcements for this webinar. I want to again thank the Governor's Office for Economic Opportunity and Belonging, Pete, and your entire team for providing just such in-depth overview of all the amazing resources that we have that your office provides for the community. And again, this is all free resources for you to use. And please make sure that you reach out to them. There's no wrong door. If you have a question and not sure where to go, which department to get started in, Pete just share resources that go ahead and email and we'll direct you. But there's other ways to also navigate the system. We want to thank you again for joining us today. The New American Task Force convenes on a regular basis and will provide webinars. The next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, May 29th. We're excited to share with our members about some promising new best practices in support of new Americans from the national standpoint. And so watch out for more information regarding that particular webinar. It is scheduled for Thursday, May 29th. And with that, I would like to conclude our webinar for today. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for our presenters, and we'll see you next time.